Hello everyone, Ember Power here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one I'm going to be taking a look at some Arcanine EX deck lists from the sets Scarlet and Violet. So Arcanine EX is a 280 HP 2 prize stage 1 Pokemon, so up there with the likes of V-Stars, which is pretty good to see. Also has the Trestle effect, meaning this Pokemon doesn't take any damage while onto the bench, so this will give you some extra protection basically against spread decks if they ever do pop up again in the future. So stuff like Radiant Greninja could be a bit annoying, so this effect will of course prevent that damage. So Arcanine has two pretty good attacks, Raging Claws and Bright Flame. Raging Claws for 2 fire energy does 30 damage and then 10 more for each damage counter on this Pokemon, which is pretty good. And then Bright Flame for 3 fire energy does 250, and then you have to discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. So typically, Raging Claws as an attack, or Outrage as it's usually called, wouldn't be that good on a Pokemon that's a bit squishy, so Kyurem in this day and age, or some new Taurus that are revealed. But because Arcanine has 280 HP, you can make use of Raging Claws probably after taking some damage and after using something like Bright Flame. So what you can do with this deck is attack with Bright Flame, do 250, discard 2 energy, and then reattach and use Raging Claws. So pretty good card overall in that sense. Some additional translations to look at would be Armorage and Revroom. Armorage has 130 HP, so stage 1 has the ability Fire Alarm. As often as you like during your turn, you may move a fire energy attached to one of your bench Pokemon and move it to your active Pokemon. So what this means is that we can use the Stadium Magma Basin to accelerate a fire energy from our discard pile to one of our bench fire Pokemon, e.g. Armorage for example, and we place the 2 damage counters from Magma Basin on the bench Pokemon, then we get to move the energy and accelerate it to the active. So it's basically like using an energy switch, but it just means that we can bypass Magma Basin and prevent our Arcanines from being damaged by Magma Basin, which is of course pretty good. We also see Revroom with 140 HP stage 1 and the ability Rumbling Engine. You must discard an energy in order to use the ability. Once on your turn, you may draw until you have 6 cards in your hand, which is a very strong ability in these decks because we play a high count of Magma Basin, so we want to be using as many Rumbling Engines as we can to basically bin the energies, draw more cards, and then reattach those energies with Magma Basin, and then move them to the active with Armorage. So pretty cool combos overall. This first list, take a look at. High count of Arcanine is like the main attacker, 4-3 line. We also see 1 Entei V, 1 Delphox V, interestingly enough. I'm not a fan of Delphox V, but it does give you some sniping capability. We also see 1 Radiant Heatran is an interesting choice of Radiance, so if you're planning on building this deck and you don't want to shell out extra packs for a Radiant Zard, then Radiant Heatran is a decent option at the very least. Also synergizes quite well with the high cost of Magma Basins. We also play 2-2 Armorage and then 2-2 Revroom. Also see 1 Luminium for just, extra draw support because his deck doesn't really play much in the way of draw power, apart from, of course, the Revroom. So we can use Entei to draw cards actually, but, we probably won't be attacking with Entei that much, per se. We'll rather use Arcanine in the early game and then maybe Heatran in the mid to late game. So we do have several options in that regard. But yeah, Pokemon, pretty self-explanatory. Trainers are also fairly straightforward. 4 Nespal, 4 Ultra Ball, 3 Switch, probably what we'd expect to see. 2 Choice Spell, and then 2 XP Share, and 1 of the Tablet. So we gain access to a V-Star power if it's attached to an Entei V or a Delphox V. And as for supporters, pretty self-explanatory, and then 4 Magma Basin, and then 11 Basic Energy. Pretty straightforward list overall, and pretty consistent as well. So this next list is going to be a God of War Arcanine deck, with a 1-1 line of Rapidash as well. So this deck is trying to take advantage of using the Curlier Trade draw engine to once in your turn discard a card from your hand to draw 2 cards. Definitely has good synergy with Magma Basin. And it also plays 2 Arcane God of War, which will allow you to look at the top 2 cards, I believe, or top 3 cards, then accelerate any amount of basic energy you find there to your Pokemon any way you like, and then draw those cards, draw like the remaining cards I should say. So God of War, nice option to accelerate energy in the mid to late game if your opponent has removed all your Magma Basin from play and you just need it as a nice option, so pretty good to see. We'll see the Rapidash that allows you to discard energy from your hand to do plus 30 damage for your fire types this turn, so pretty good in allowing Arcanine to do from 250 to 280, which is pretty cool. It also means you don't have to run that many choice belts if you're planning on getting a Rapidash set up. I'm personally not a big fan of this list in particular, just because I think it's trying to juggle too much. The 4-3 Arcanine line is fine, and then the God of War line is okay, but then one Rapidash and then 1 Delphox V seems like overkill, to be honest. I don't think you need everything, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Gardevoir ends up seeing that much play as a partner for Arcanine. So this next list is more of a focus on Rapidash. And I think if you're going to lead into that kind of Rapidash boosting up to 280 every turn, then this is probably the correct way to build it, which is a heavier count of Rapidash and a straightforward 4-4 line of Arcanine. Also playing the 1 Entei V for the additional attacker in the form of the Rondo. We also see 1 Radiant Zard instead of Heatran, so that's interesting in its own right, just gives you a nice option in the late game. And of course, Radiant Zard doing 250 means it can be buffed to 280 with Rapidash, which is a pretty key number to hit. We also see 1 Silazar with free retreat cost, and that's, to be honest, the only reason I think Silazar is in the deck. It's just allow you to retreat for free occasionally, so if you want to switch out, then you can do it with Silazar. You also have 1 Luminion, and then 1 Drapion V, because Mew V-Backs will probably be seeing a ton of play post-rotation. So, pretty cool list overall. I do like this one. I also like the fact that it's also respecting the fact that you need to put a lot of energy into play and then discard a lot of energy. So it is also playing 2 energy retrieval as well as a Magma Basin, which is pretty cool. If anything, I'd like to find room in this list for a 4th Magma Basin, because if you don't find it, it's going to get pretty awkward pretty quickly. So I might find, if I was to replicate this list, I'd probably try and find room for 1 Luminous Tablet or something, or not Luminous Tablet, Forest Seal Stone Tablet, to attach to either Entei or Luminion or Drapion, just allow me to, once in my turn, search my deck for any trainer that I do need that turn. But yeah, pretty cool list overall, and I'm a big fan of this one. So this next one is going to be a Bibarel deck. I'm pretty sure the next 2 decks are actually Bibarel, but this one, fairly straightforward. We're trying to go a bit faster with this deck. 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Trekking Shoes, so the idea that we're trying to just thin through our deck as much as possible. Also playing a high count of Judge, 3 copies, means that we can take advantage of stuff like Bibarel, which allows us to draw till 5 into our hand. Interestingly enough, there is no Rev Room in this deck. Sometimes you have to wonder if Rev Room's just a better choice, or maybe this player didn't have access to Rev Room, but I do think Rev Room overall is better than Bibarel in this deck, just because you have to rely on the Magma Basin synergy so much. But yeah, going back to playing Radiant Zard as well, overall, I do like this deck. I respect the 2 Entei because it is a very good card to have. It's also just great in certain matchups, like Miraidon decks that want to flood their board with Pokemon, so very good attacker in those decks. And again, 1 Silazar to allow for free retreat. So pretty cool list overall. Not a huge fan of the Pokemon count. I would like to see Rev Rooms instead of Bibarels, but overall a pretty solid list to choose. So this next one is going to be another Bibarel list, very, very similar to the one we just looked at, but this is playing some notable differences, such as the fact it's playing a cast form, which will allow you to have free retreat. So I guess if you really wanted to, you could start to run a levelable package in these decks to be able to find Growlithe, cast form, and Bidoof, or the whatever he evolves from Rev Room. I forget the name of the basic, but yeah, I think you could run level ball in this list, honestly, just to be able to find those basics in the early game. But yeah, overall, very similar list. Some couple of key differences, like there's no 2 Entei, there's a heavier line of Arcanine, I think. So, yeah, heavier line of Arcanine, 1 less Entei, but then, stuff like Bibarel, stuff like Cast Form. I do like Cast Form, honestly. I think it's a cool option, and probably a bit better than Silazar because it is a fire type as well. So there is an option to attack with it if you so choose. It's a pretty cool deck overall. This next one is not actually going to be an Entei deck. I just thought I'd toss it on here. It is an Entei V deck, however, so if you're just looking to play Entei V while you build up to Arcanine, because Arcanine is definitely a better deck than Entei. If you still want to play Entei, there is this list. 1 Drapion, of course, for the Mew. Then we see Radiant Zard, 1 Baby Moltres, and then 3-3 Rapidash, and 2-2 Armorage, and 1-1 Altaria. So there's a lot going on with this deck. Many stage 1s. I do think Rapidash is a cool addition because you're just trying to discard loads of energies to do even more damage with Blizzard, not Burning Wanderer. Burning Wanderer, I think, is the attack name. But yeah, it's an interesting deck, but I'm not overly fond of just running so many different counts of single price Pokemon like this. But yeah, I'll have to see how this one plays out because I'm not a super fan of this one, but there is some cool aspects about it. High Rapidash count is cool, but yeah, I'll have to see with this deck. This next build is going to be a Arceus Armorage deck, and then with Radiant Heatran as your secondary attacker kind of thing. We also see Delphox V, so you have some sniping capability as well. Pretty cool take on the Arceus deck that we're used to. Usually we see Arceus paired up with stuff like Enteion or Gardevoir or stuff like Duraludon. But seeing this deck just allows you to kind of imagine what a deck like this could look like, because you're trying to use Magma Basin to accelerate those energies. And then, of course, you can just move them around. Also got decent synergy with Charm's Care, because it means that you could set up multiple armages in a turn. And I do believe the abilities do stack. So you could Charm's Care your active Arceus, promote a new one, and then, use Armage to move energy from benched Arceus to the active Arceus, theoretically. So yeah, it's a cool take on the deck. I'm not sure how much I'm a fan of it, though. I do like Radiant Heatran a lot as a Pokemon, but yeah, I'll have to see how this one plays out as one of the better Arceus decks. But yeah, that'll be it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of Arcanine EX down below. It's been Ember Power, and yeah, thank you for watching.